running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing.
Hi, good evening, all our viewers of This Time channel. So as usual, we always bring along the celebrity sports persons from all over the country for your introduction, and we ask them a lot of questions and about their sports and about their career and their life and other activities. So this time we are fortunate to have Ramit Tandon, the India number 2, Asia number 4 and world number 36 squash player from our country. We are proud to have with you. Ramit, welcome you on board.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Sure, definitely. This chat will be very entertaining, like your game of attacking squash game.
Yeah.
So, first of all, congratulations for your becoming India number 2 and Asia number 4, and having won continuously for 6 national junior championships and taking 4 PSAs to titles. So then you became converted yourself to professional in 2018, and then you went on to Columbia University to study statistics, and then you changed over to from sports person to the academician, you went into finance department, and suddenly there is a 360 degree again coming back to squash. So there is a very lot of twist in your professional circle. Can you briefly tell about that?
I see you've done your research. You've dug deep. But no, as you said, I play an entertaining game with a lot of twisting and turning, so I like living life that way as well. But on a more serious note, I feel I think for me, squash, when I started playing squash, it was always along with my academics, especially having lived in India and being born and brought up in India. I think our society in India is academically oriented, and you might be a good singer, dancer, athlete. It is a hobby, and it all goes along with your academics, and it was the same for me, and hence why I went to college when I played squash in college, and I took up a job. I think most people after college, 99 or 95% of the people who graduate apply for jobs, and it was the same thing for me. And I was working in finance before I decided one day to kind of give squash a go, give it a chance, and I'm glad I made the decision, because if I didn't, I would not know what traveling the world and competing at the highest level would feel like.
Definitely. Actually, you squashed your finance side, and then you made a life out of squash game. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Otherwise, we would not have met you, I think, right? So, I believe.
That's fair. Yeah, and I get to meet people like you. So.
Correct. You are bringing laurels to our country. Let's hope it continues till a long time. And we would like to see you in the world number 1 stage, and maybe in the times to come. So as a squash player, please go ahead.
Yeah. No, for sure. I'll be trying my best, and I also take a lot of pride in doing well for the country, and it's very encouraging to meet people who want you to do well, who aspire well for sports in our country. So I will definitely be trying my best. Yeah.
Correct. So you have to set an example for others also, because like other individual sports, people have done it. Like if you talk about other streams, like Vishwanath Anand in chess, Abhinav Bindra in shooting, Rajyavardhan Rathore, all those individual players, Michael Ferreira, Heath Sethi, and then the name is Ramit Tandon. Will be a name reckoned with in the future times to come. I believe so.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah.
So tell me, as a squash player, how did you get this interest in squash? Because it's a very rare game to be, come up with, I want to play squash. Is there any background in your close circles or family, or how did you pick up this?
I mean, for me, the first time I saw the sport was through my father.
Okay.
As you said, it's not a sport we see in schools, on the streets, like you see cricket and soccer.
Right.
So my father used to play. So as a kid, I would go to the club in Calcutta along with him to see him playing, and that's where my journey with squash started. Every day I would accompany him to the club to kill some time away from my homeworks and school, and one day I decided to pick up the racket, hit a ball, and that one shot became 10 shots, 10 shots became 20, and eventually my dad finally signed me up for lessons with the coach there, and that's basically how I saw the sport and then eventually got into the sport. Yeah.
I think your father was playing squash and you got into your genes.
Possibly, yes. Yes, I think so, yeah.
You must have, born to become a squash champion. Maybe like you're coming from a city like Kolkata. Rather, Kolkata is a recent name. Earlier it was Calcutta. So Kolkata, then the very football crazy fans are there. The entire Kolkata is a football. How did you pick up, like squash is a very little unknown in those part of the country. How did you pick up this? Again, the parent.
Yeah, as I said, it happened to be because my father played. I actually need to ask him how he picked up the sport. I actually don't know the story. I've not asked him that. But for me, the journey started there. And as you said, it is a rare sport. It is still played in private clubs. It's not accessible like cricket or football, especially in Calcutta. Everyone is playing football. It's a big football city. But yeah, I've been lucky enough. I was exposed to it at a young age to see what it is to eventually get into it.
That's so nice to hear you from that. People are reluctant to go to the other, not so illuminated sports like squash and all, but people prefer cricket, football, and all those things.
Yeah, but I kind of believe it's not what you prefer, right? I think my belief is the other way around. The sport picks the player does not pick the sport, right?
That's right. Squash,
not necessarily
squash picks you up.
Yeah. I don't think it's necessary because you're good in squash, you will be good in cricket.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it's very difficult as a kid to if you force someone into doing something, it's probably not the best approach. I believe what you naturally like doing is what gives you the best chance to get good at it eventually. And I feel for me also, it was like I played cricket, I played football in school, I used to swim, but it was squash that attracted me to bring me back again and again. So it was a natural situation.
Driven
and I believe that's
how
sport should be.
Driven towards the game actually, naturally.
Correct. And I feel that's how sport should be in general. It should be very natural. I don't think forcing people into it really works.
Force will never give you any happiness and satisfaction. Force will give you the dissatisfaction comes into, or the rejection portion comes into picture, where I'm forced to do this. That compulsion is there. Compulsion is very bad. Now tell me, Ramit, so you were into schools only, you did that, and then by playing all other games also, you picked up the squash and went on to become 6 times junior champion. What was the journey about till you reach the national champion? Junior national.
A lot of fun. You can sit back and you can say that I worked very hard, and the cliched answers that people give that it was blood, sweat and tears, and I did so much time in the gym and I spent so many hours on the court. But the truth is, my family was very supportive. My parents guided me the right way. I had the right team with me, the right coaches in Calcutta, especially for a sport like squash where you don't know. It's not like cricket where there are hundreds of academies. So to kind of have the right people working with me from a young age was something I was very fortunate with. So I always say teamwork makes the dream work. So my team around me, my teachers, my parents, they were the real geniuses behind the show. And for me, I did it because they made it fun for me. I enjoyed it. The 2 hours I spent training was the fun 2 hours of my day. So I look forward to it. And, while having fun, you end up creating some magic as well. And for me, it was more like a fairy tale fun story than a hard working. Obviously there is hard work and sacrifice and all of that. But if it's fun, then you don't look at it as hard work and sacrifice, right?
Correct.
So I would not call it sacrifice. I would say I just enjoyed doing it so much more than doing other things that would always pick squash over other things. So I feel like I was surrounded by the right people in the right place at the right time and just had a blast. And
you enjoyed everything happens at the right time, and whenever it happens, that is the right time.
Right. True.
So good. Tell me one thing as a professional, when you turned 2018, towards the amateur to professional. What was the transformation you were looking into, and what change your this one, or how did you decide to go to become pro?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I always enjoyed squash. So even when I was away from competing in the tournaments because I was having a job and I didn't have the time to travel, I was still playing squash. I was still loving the sport. I was practicing with some of the best players in the world. So I was working in New York. Some of the best players in the world live in New York. So I was training with them.
Okay.
And then I think there came a point, where when I was graduating college, I was thinking about whether I want to play squash full time or I want to find a job. And after a lot of thinking, I had a realization that I know what squash feels like. I played at the highest level as a junior. I've represented the country also by then. I know what going to a championship feels like, what the training feels like. But I don't know what having a real job, waking up in the morning, going to office. I've never felt that. I'm still a college kid who's finished school, who's finished college. He does not know what it feels like to have a boss. So the only way to know what I like more is to experience the other side of things. Who knows? Maybe I would love my job as much as I love squash.
Right.
So at that point in time, I think the safe bet, what everyone else was doing, and the part of what I wanted to explore was kind of finding a job and working. So I did that for a few years, 3 years, and I think the first 2 years was fun because you're learning new things every day, and then you're getting kind of life. But I think by the third year, that newness goes away, and you're just repeating the same stuff over and over again, and the learning curve steepens, and that's when you kind of realize, that you get a true sense of what it is. I think when you start something new for the first time, it's always exciting.
Correct.
It's only once it's old, then how excited are you about it is what counts. And for me, so work got a little boring. I was like, well, am I going to do this for the rest of my life, sitting in the office, crunching numbers? And while all this was happening, I was definitely following the world of squash because they're all my peers, my friends who I used to compete with are playing professionally, and I was keeping up with the tournaments. And then it kind of struck me one day, why not give it a go? Why not try it? Because if 5-7 years later I decide to do it, it might be a little too late. So I had that realization, and that's what kind of led me to kind of take the leap.
That's a fantastic transformation from a workaholic to the sports person, professional sports person. And like what you said, the passion is always there. If the passion is there continuously, then you have to do what your passion takes you to go there. It's not that you're bound by 9 to 5. You are actually 24-hour sports person. You tell me one thing, Ramit. Once you become pro, then your day-to-day routine changes. Not like any job-oriented person. Sports person is a different mentality and attitude, and the positive spirit. All those things. How do you acquire this, or what do you do for that? Is there a special type of training you go?
I think once you have played sport, and I've done it from a young age. So even when I was in the office, I was more like a sportsman than actually as a. I think the attitude, I think that's what sport gives you, the determination, the willpower, the work ethic. I think, if you're doing a sport from a young age, that becomes a part and parcel of your life.
Correct.
And I think it was the same thing post my time at work when I decided to jump back into the sport. I always knew what it takes. I always knew the work that I would need to put in. I always knew the mentality I needed to have. Yes, what was challenging was the travel. Like when you're living in one city, going to an office and coming home and having your friends there and having a pattern of life, and then you're jumping on a flight every other week, flying to different parts of the world to compete. I think that lifestyle switch was a little troublesome for me to get used to. I think anything you change, even if you change your bed today, you'll find it hard to sleep. I think human beings are wired that way, that we kind of get used to certain things, and it was the same thing for me. I was living in a city, and then all of a sudden I'm not living in any city because I'm every week in some other city or some other country playing, training. So for me, that was the challenge, to kind of accept that as life. Like first for me, traveling was a holiday.
Correct.
And now suddenly traveling is actually life. And when I'm at home, if I get 2 weeks, I'm like enjoying, this is like a holiday, right? So
Correct.
so that flip, that switch, it took some time for my body to adapt to.
Correct.
Apart from that, I feel like in general, just my habits, when you're working in the office and you're crunching numbers and you're really hungry, you will just pick up a sandwich and you'll eat it. Or you'll have 2 extra cups of coffee and you won't worry about what you're putting into your body.
Yeah.
Obviously, once you are an athlete, everything you eat, the number of hours you sleep, the amount of water you drink, all of that is structured, all of that matters, all of that makes a difference. So that attention to detail, that changing those bad habits that I picked up, bad in the sense it's not really bad habits, but for an athlete, drinking too much coffee is a bad habit, right? So changing that and bringing that into what is required for an athlete is the other challenge I faced. So those two were the major challenges. And then the third thing, obviously, the mind, the pressure when you're leaving a job, a corporate job, and you're jumping into sport. Obviously, you're doing that because you have expectations from yourself. You're out there to prove a point, and doing all of that, it's very hard to kind of ignore all of that and still have a good time, and that is the challenge from the mental perspective. So these 2-3 things was what took me a lot of hard work and effort mentally to kind of fix. But again, I always believe, although I play an individual sport, there are a lot of people who surround you who are part of it. As you said, you're 24/7 an athlete. The people I interact with, the people who talk to me, everything, whatever I hear, listen to as part of my mindset is what I take with me on the court.
Yeah.
So you got to surround yourself by positive people. You got to have a good team who you can believe in, who can guide you. And my bit is only following guidance. I have a lot of smart people who I've worked with who tell me what I need to do. And now it's up to me whether I follow it or not.
Correct. I agree. You discipline, there is a very strong word, discipline. You change the discipline to enter into disciplined sports life.
Yeah.
You are into working and then you became a sports person. Sports teaches you everything about life. How to behave, how to conduct yourself, all those things. It's a disciplined way of life. The sports teaches. Accept the defeat, and whenever you are win, you be at calm, at peace with yourself. That's very important. Lesson from the sports. Now tell me one thing.
Right.
What is your day-to-day? Suppose if you get up in the morning, whatever time, and then till evening, what is your routine? How do you?
Yeah. So I normally wake up around 7 a.m. I start my day with a bit of stretching and yoga kind of stuff from like between 7 and 9. And then at 10 a.m. I have my first session, which is usually a squash session. So I have about 2 hours on the squash court, normally working with my coach, working on technical stuff. So by the time I'm done, 10 to 12:30, it's about lunchtime. So then I'm back home for lunch. I have a bit of a break, and then around like 3-4 p.m. I have my fitness session. So I'm then working with my fitness coach, which is again like maybe 3:30 to 5 p.m. We are working on different things. And then I have a bit of a break, and then around 7 p.m. I will be back sparring, like doing some match practice, playing with other players.
Yeah.
So I do that in the evening, and then post that on certain days, once I'm done, I have, depending on the day, I might have like some recovery stuff to do. So I either would be working with my physio or a massage or an ice bath, something to kind of recover for the next day. So while all this is ongoing, obviously I'm working with my nutritionist, and we got to still figure out, in between the training, if I'm eating the right things, if I'm drinking enough water, if I'm feeling energetic, if I'm not feeling energetic. So while you're busy playing, you're also busy organizing the other parts of your life, which is obviously the nutrition, the mindset. So I work with my mental coach 2 to 3 times a week. So on certain days, like you kind of fit in those sessions. And then apart from that, we're always open to learning. I think sports science is growing at a very fast rate. And you're always open to picking up different things. And the only way to find out whether it works for you or not is to try it. So I'm always talking to people, trying to understand, if there's something I can do to get that 1% edge over my competition. So yeah, these kind of things. And apart from all of this, you still have meetings and plannings to plan your tournament schedule, to plan your training schedule, to peak for the tournaments.
Right.
And like at work, you have a plan and then things happen and the plan changes. There's an injury and then you change. So then we have those meetings, we have the discussions, we have video analysis sessions to analyze weaknesses. So in a week it gets pretty hectic, and that's why we meet at 10:30 p.m. in the night or 11 p.m.
That reminds me. Can I ask you one question on the lighter side? Do you have any cheat days in between?
I do. So I have one day a week which I am allowed to eat whatever I want. Usually a Sunday.
Yeah.
And yeah, but even then, it's called cheating, but it's still healthy. It's not
change.
Yeah.
For a change, you can do that.
It's a change, yeah. It's a change, but I will not call it. It's still not unhealthy food.
Unhealthy.
But yeah, but there's once a week where I kind of
correct.
Have the day to myself. I don't worry about waking up. I don't worry about what I'm eating, what I'm doing. It's a day when I'm off discipline. So usually a Sunday is the best day. Yeah.
So one day is indisciplined day, and all other days are disciplined for.
Yeah, but even the one day of indiscipline gets very hectic and busy because that's the day I'm also catching up, meeting with family, friends, and because during the week if I don't get to see them a lot, I leave that day. So I'm at lunch with someone, I'm at dinner with someone, and it gets busy.
So one more thing which I would like to ask is, now when you started squash, you won the 6 times junior national championship. Did you have any role model for you in front of you where I would like to become that, or I would like to become world number 1 or something like that? You must be having some names.
Yes, yeah. So when I started sport, my first sporting role model was Sachin Tendulkar.
Oh,
like I grew up. I loved cricket. I used to play a lot of cricket when I was a kid. I was also captain of my school team till class 6 or 7, and so growing up, I was even now, but back then I was a huge Sachin fan. I would watch all his matches. I would watch the way he behaves. I would. So in terms of sports, the first person, you also learn through his ups and downs, because when you're very emotionally connected or you're a big fan of someone, you also feel the emotion of when he scores a century. You also feel the pain when he scores a 0, especially as a kid, right? So I feel a lot of what we become as sports people is also the training starts from a young age. You see Sachin succeed and the way he conducts himself. You see Sachin fail and the way he conducts himself. So, you pick all that up growing up. So then one day when you're also playing sport, that's your training starts from that age, looking at role models. So, So I started off with Sachin. Somewhere down the line, obviously Sachin was always the role model. It moved towards Usain Bolt and Roger Federer. As I grew up. So I was a big Federer fan, a big Usain Bolt fan. And then if you talk about squash, one of my favorites was Rami Ashur, who was a legend of the game, and I got some time to train with him. So I really looked up to him growing up. But I think for most part of my childhood, just because India did not have players at the topmost level in squash, or maybe squash not being as popular as cricket or tennis, most of my childhood I kind of looked up to a Sachin or a Roger Federer, and I think those were kind of my role models growing up.
Coming back to the question of any fond memories or wonderful incidences which you remember while you are 6 times national junior championship or the Asian Games bronze medalist, ride or any world event where you vividly remember, this was the deciding and defining moment for me in my life.
Oh yeah, I think the beauty about sport is the emotions are so heavy that you tend to remember the highest and the lowest. I think the ones in between are the ones you forget, because obviously I've been doing this for many years, and the first national championship was always special. I still remember the day. I've lost memory for a bunch in between. But the first and the last national championship in the juniors, I remember both very clearly. So
when was it?
The date, I'm not sure. But I think the first one would have been like 2001 or 2002. I think I was 7 or 8. And the last one in the juniors was 2011.
2011. Okay.
Yeah, but my memory in between the two is lost. So
That's okay.
So that yes. I mean, my first ever squash trophy was even before that. I think in 2000, it was the most promising player award at the Otters Club.
Okay.
At the Otters Open. So I remember that. I remember receiving that award. That memory is still in. I can still recollect that
memory.
Yeah, I can still remember how the day went, how I received. It's there. So it must have had a big impact on me back then. And then I think every time you represent the nation, there is a very proud feeling, and especially like multi-sporting games like the Asian Games, Commonwealth Games. There is you're always on a very high patriotic emotion or a spirit that's driving you, and when people are hoisting the flag and then you're standing with the national anthem playing at the background, that's like a goosebump kind of moment. It's hard to replicate that, so it's hard to beat that. And I feel obviously there has been a lot of special moments, but I think representing the country, winning some of the PSA events are always special, and probably starting off as a junior, the first few trophies that I won, that was very memorable.
Yeah, correct. On the vice versa, on the other hand, if you have any bitter memories, I want to forget all those things.
Oh yeah. Vice versa also, there will be quite a few. I think the thing about the bitter memories are they sting in the moment. But a few months later, you actually are thankful to learn that lesson, because you have gotten that much better as a player because of that.
Right.
So in the moment, it's like a sharp dagger to the chest.
Right.
But a month or two later, you kind of realize that importance of that dagger and what that's made you today. So then in hindsight, it does not feel as bad. But there are always, times where you are well prepared and you're at your best and you want to be competing. And for me, a big moment was the Commonwealth Games when I got injured. I was in Birmingham and I could not compete because I picked up an injury 2 days before the championship started. So that was hard. So there are always moments where especially the ones, sport is such a thing. A lot is in your control, but a lot is out of your control as well.
Out of control.
Sometimes you can play well, but your opponent can play better. Sometimes there's that factor of luck. In cricket terms, if someone bowls to you and the ball bounces on the bad part of the pitch and you get out, there is that factor of element of luck. And for me, it's always hard to digest things that are out of my control, that don't go my way. If I make mistakes like every other human being in every job, you can go back and say, I can get better at this or I can get better at that. So those lessons are things that you...
We have read about that. You have already the world number 11. You played with world number 11 and you stunned him. And then any reactions on that?
I mean, yes. I mean, as you said, you said the life of a sportsman, be humble in victory. And, when you're losing, you got to pick yourself up. So, I mean, it's a sport. I think all players, in today's day and age, the difference between the players is not much. The level is very similar. It is who shows up on the day. And I think the best players in the world are the ones who are showing up on more days than the ones ranked below them. I mean, obviously he's a great player. That's why he's ranked 11th in the world, and it's a good win for me as well. But having said all of that, the focus lies in getting better and bringing your A game out each day you step on the court. And if I can master that, then I'll be more consistent with winning these kind of matches.
Correct. Now tell me one thing, as a finance background you have, in financial, they say what are the short-term goals and the long-term goals. If you apply to squash, what are your short-term goals and the long-term goals you foresee now?
The only difference between finance and squash is when you look at the goals in finance, it's all result-oriented. There's always a number to it. When you look at the goals in squash, the way I look at it, I have two kind of goals. One, obviously, is the results. I do like putting yardsticks of what I want to achieve in the sport. But at the same time, I also like putting goals in terms of my improvement as a player. I like putting down goals where I want to see, okay, in the short term, these are things in my game that's lacking. So I want to improve this. I want to improve that. So that's the difference between the two. If you're asking me my goals in terms of results, obviously the short term would be to break the top 20 of the world in the coming months. So that's like a short term goal. Another goal would be to kind of do well, have a breakthrough in some of the major events, which is like the Grand Slam squash.
Right.
So if I can win matches against the world number 11 and stuff, I can play at that level. So just to get the consistency to be able to do that is what I'm looking to achieve in the short term.
Right. That's so nice to hear about that. Now, tell me one thing. Now you are still young. You are still young. The question, if you want to advise to the youngsters who want to take up this squash sports in our country.
I think like everything else, keep it simple. Follow your heart. If you enjoy it, if you are honest to it, if you're true to it, and you do it because you actually have fun doing it, you will make time for it. You will go that extra mile for it, and the other things fall into place. If you're forcing yourself to play and you don't really enjoy it, and you're still doing it because your parents are pushing it on you or because your friend is doing it, then you will always find excuses and you'll never find the will to do it. So the most important thing, there'll be ups, there'll be downs. That's part of sport. That's part of life. But there's one guarantee. The one thing you can get out of it is joy and fun. So we should not let go of that. Let's not get carried away by the ups and the downs and by society and the results. Let's just enjoy the simplicity of the fact that you're spending your time doing something healthy and you really enjoy doing it. And if you have that attitude, I think you automatically put yourself in the position to get good at it.
But definitely, that's a nice advice actually to the young budding talents who are coming up and take up this sports actually, which is very, very not like as common as other sports faculty, but still we have a champion like Ramit with us, and definitely you have to be the torch bearer in this squash in this country, I believe so. Now tell me one thing. I think there was a Pakistani player and we defeated Pakistan or something like that in squash. Is there anything you want to say on that?
I mean, it's good to win, irrespective of whether it's Pakistan, whether it's England, whether it's Australia. I think obviously the tensions between India and Pakistan that we have had over the years tends to spice things up. I think India is a country, it's a country with Bollywood being a major profession. There's a lot of TV shows out there. So yeah, as society, our culture, we tend to enjoy the spice, we tend to enjoy the drama, and hence India-Pakistan always ends up being bigger than the sport. It gets very dramatic. I think that's the nature of the culture in our country, which is fine. I think it's good for sport. It's good to have rivalries. It's good. It brings out more patriotism, so I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, as athletes, we are up against other athletes, and our focus, we've got to not think about the whole India-Pakistan angle and just focus on getting the job done. So but it's always, the tensions are high. It's always fun to be in that environment.
That's right. I also heard about this, this javelin thrower, Neeraj. Neeraj came first and the Pakistan guy came second. So he said, rivalry is only in the sports, otherwise we are like brothers.
Yeah.
So actually,
I mean, I think it's very similar. I think a lot of what happens between the countries is more like on a high level. It's more political. But I think sport, that's the beauty of sport, right? No matter who you are, when you're competing with someone, you got to respect them for whatever game they bring out there. The respect is not for at a personal level, it's also at a professional level, because you got to come out with your A game versus their A game, and that's the beauty about the diversity of cultures, the diversity of countries mixing and matching at these major sporting events like the Olympics and Asian Games and Commonwealth Games.
Right. So is there any from your side will be participating in the current events coming up?
Yeah, so I just participated in the World Championships in Egypt last week. I'm off to England next week for the British Open, which is the Wimbledon equivalent of squash, and that's the end of our season. So the British Open is the last tournament of this season, and then we have the off season. So yeah, I'm one event away from ending this season. So yeah.
Now, who is your coach, and how you equations with your coach? What is your immediate, you are representing in now Birmingham and all those things. What is your goal there?
What's that, sorry?
To win and come back to India, or what?
Yeah, so I work with David Palmer, who's the former world champion. He lives in the US, so he's been my coach for the last year or so. So we've been working together. My fitness coach is Anwar Wahab. He's in India. He's from Calcutta. So that's basically my main coach and my fitness coach. And then I have another team of physios and stuff who help me out. And in terms of goals, obviously you go to every championship with the goal of winning and coming back. I think you never go thinking you're not going to win, otherwise that would not go. So that is always the goal. And right now I'm a week away, so we are preparing, trying our best. So we don't really focus on the result during our preparation. Our focus is to prepare well. So that's the focus right now. But obviously it's driven towards coming back with the trophy.
Yeah, it is said that preparation is very good and the performance peaks.
Right.
Process is very important than the final outcome.
Right, and without the process, there won't be the desired outcome. So, it is very important to prepare, because it also gives you a lot of confidence. When you're competing, right? So yeah.
Now, talking about your games, I think you were told your main forte is attack. So do you think that the best defense is the best attack, or best attack is the best defense?
No, I think finding the balance is the best thing. I think sometimes the best attack is the best defense, and sometimes it's the other way around as well. I think, in our sport, I feel like whoever can impose his game on his opponent is going to come back as the winner. So that is my belief. And obviously, I'm known to be a very attacking player, but that does not mean I'm not going to focus on other parts of my game. Obviously, we're trying to develop other parts of my game, for me, attacking works, but it might not work for someone else, right? So I think each player, the beauty about the game is that although we play the same shots, we play the same game, all the top players are different, have different skill sets. Some are very good defenders, some are very good attackers, some are very good movers. So that's the beauty of our sport. Each play to their strengths, and we try to get the maximum benefit.
One should know what is my strength and what is my weaknesses.
Yes.
That makes a complete sports person.
Right.
Yeah. Now, well, Ramit, it's almost 11:30 now. I won't take you much of your time, because you would like to. You are flying tomorrow, baby. But the point is, it was a fun talking to you, and it was worthwhile. And thank you for your time. But not before. You have to give your fans, fan following, message from your side. What do you say about your future endeavors and future whatever you are taking up? So to your fans, I'm actually one of your fans now.
Thank you. No, I'm very thankful. I feel, I read a lot of messages I get on Instagram and on Twitter and stuff, and there's one positive, like what I tell people, a lot of people say a lot of things about, a big issue athletes deal with is the noise around us.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who comment on the sport, or a lot of people who critique athletes, or they say, for example, when India lost the World Cup, a lot of people were saying that Virat should have done this, Virat should have done that. But in my opinion, I think Virat knows better than any of those people what he should do or not. That's why he is Virat and the others are not. And I think I was seeing some news on the IPL, and I was seeing Virat say the same thing about commentators talking about his slow run rate or strike rate or something, and his he basically commented saying that I don't listen to anything, and I know better than anyone else what I need to do then, and people speaking behind the microphone, they get paid to talk. They have to say something, right? So a big part of athletes is like to cut out the noise, because there are always people, who like you, who dislike you within the sport, who will talk things, and a lot of times there are people who haven't even achieved much or have the knowledge. If someone who has the knowledge or who's a coach or who's in that field is talking about the game, you can learn from them. But if someone is just being destructive and commenting on things for the sake of commenting, it's a completely different thing. So a big part of being an athlete is to cut out the outside noise. But the other side of things is what I've told people in my journey. All I've received is positive messages from people. So I'm very thankful for that. Everything said and done, at the end of the day, when people reach out, there's always something sweet, it's always something nice, it's always something encouraging. I've never received someone talking me down or saying something bad or abusive. So from that standpoint, the people who love sport in India, who follow sport, who are tweeting out there, firstly, I think the phase our country is going through, I think we're going through a sporting boom right now.
Right.
I think we're on the verge of sport is starting to pick up. Athletes are getting attention. The government is heavily investing in sport in the country, and we are not. I will not call us a completely sport-friendly country yet, but I think we are in that phase where we're growing towards it. So I think the supporters now are the OG, the original gangster supporters, because these guys are part of that trend. And then obviously one day India will be known as a sporting nation.
Yes.
And then everyone will be talking about sport. But then, the ones doing it now are the bold ones who are putting themselves out there when a lot of people are not. So I'm very thankful for the support. Personally, on behalf of sport in India, I'm very thankful for those who are promoting, doing things like you're doing, and helping sport grow in our country, because it's now when we need it the most.
Yeah. So nicely said, actually. We are from, changing from sports-loving country to sports-friendly country.
Yeah.
That's a very nicely statement you made. And so nice of you to say that about even for our channel and for me personally also. And from our channel, we wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and we would like you to see as India's player, world number one squash player in the future times to come, and that's the all. That's all, my dear friends. We have been talking to Ramit Tandon, the future world number one and India number one player with us. So we wish him all the best in his future endeavors and matches. Let him come with the flying colors back to our country, and we'll celebrate once again. Thanks a lot, Ramit. And
thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Before that, namaste from India.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.